When the Fever drafted Caitlin Clark as the #1 overall pick, it was supposed to be the perfect match. Clark brought the swagger and offensive brilliance that could transform a franchise, while Stephanie White, a respected leader with a reputation for discipline and player development, was the steady hand to guide her. On paper, it looked flawless. White praised Clark's leadership instincts and competitive edge early on, while Clark thanked White for trusting her as a playmaker. But success alters dynamics. Once Clark began dominating headlines and pulling record audiences, the balance shifted. The Fever stopped being just a basketball team. They became a phenomenon. Cameras, sponsors, interviews, and viral moments surrounded the team's every move. For the first time, White found herself not just coaching basketball, but managing fame. Behind closed doors, the Fever's internal rhythm was reportedly being disrupted. Players were told to adjust schedules around Clark's sponsor obligations, and even practice footage was vetted by marketing teams for viral potential. Those might seem like small details, but for professionals used to structure, it was enough to create unease. Clark had become the face of the WNBA, the league's savior in many eyes, and her gravity began pulling everything, teammates, staff, and even management, into her orbit. White, known for her firm approach, tried to restore balance, emphasizing accountability and teamwork, but the task was nearly impossible when her star player's influence extended far beyond the court. Then came the fateful practice that sparked all the noise. The team was coming off a tough loss, and White wanted to slow things down, focus on defense, clean execution, and fundamentals. Clark reportedly wanted to push tempo, run fast breaks, and inject energy back into the session. When Clark kept calling out plays as White tried to redirect drills, the tension snapped. White slammed her clipboard, voice cutting through the gym. "Enough! I'm still the coach." The room froze. Teammates like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell reportedly looked stunned. Even the assistants stayed silent. Clark didn't argue. She simply nodded, walked to the sideline, and practice ended soon after. It was short, but powerful. In that silence, everyone felt the power struggle that had been quietly building finally come to light. That evening, the Fever reportedly held a team meeting behind closed doors. Clark stayed quiet, while veterans spoke about pressure and distractions. White reminded the team about unity, but the air was thick with unease. Later, some players went out together without Clark, not out of malice, but to breathe again after the tension. Meanwhile, Clark's management team allegedly contacted executives, worried the story might leak. But within 2 days, it did. Whispers of a confrontation spread online, and soon speculation ignited. Had Stephanie White lost control of the locker room, or was Caitlin Clark simply too powerful to manage? The Fever's ownership, particularly Steve Simon, who has invested heavily in building around Clark, reportedly called an urgent meeting with front office staff to control the narrative. This wasn't just a PR crisis, it was a power crisis. Because if the relationship between White and Clark fractured beyond repair, the organization would face an impossible choice: protect the veteran coach who built the system, or protect the superstar who is the system. Inside the team, opinions were reportedly split. Some veterans backed White, praising her for enforcing structure amid chaos. Others believed Clark was being stifled, that her leadership and fire were misunderstood. The locker room, once united under shared goals, quietly divided into two camps: the coaches' team and the superstars' team. The balance of control hung in the air like static electricity. Publicly, both women handled the fallout flawlessly. White continued praising Clark's intensity in interviews, while Clark mirrored the respect, saying her coach pushed her to be better. But fans noticed the subtle cues: the colder post-game hugs, the shorter smiles, and the distant sideline exchanges. It wasn't animosity. It was careful professionalism. Both knew that one wrong word could ignite another storm. So they smiled for the cameras and played their roles, even as the foundation beneath them trembled. Leaks like this never happen by accident. Someone wanted it out there. Some say it came from players loyal to White, frustrated with Clark's growing influence. Others insist it was Clark's camp, strategically softening the blow by framing it as a competitive moment. Either way, the narrative spread fast, and fans everywhere began taking sides. Was this about ego or evolution? About coaching power or generational stardom? Stephanie White embodies the WNBA's old guard: discipline, respect, and order. Caitlin Clark represents its future: freedom, marketability, and individuality. Their clash was never really personal. It was symbolic. a snapshot of what women's basketball is becoming. Coaches used to hold unshakable authority, but today's stars don't just play. They drive revenue, ratings, and relevance. Clark doesn't just represent a team. She represents the entire business model of modern women's sports. And for a coach trying to maintain hierarchy, that's an earthquake waiting to happen. The Fever's leadership now walks a tightrope. Favor Clark too much and risk fracturing the team culture. Side too firmly with White and risk alienating the most valuable player the league has ever seen. For now, practices appear calmer, games more composed, but beneath the surface, the tension lingers. Clark continues to put up superstar numbers, while White maintains her composure, doing what veteran coaches do best, keep order. No matter how chaotic things get behind the scenes, but make no mistake, this story is far from over. The Fever's success and the WNBA's next era depend on whether two powerful women can coexist under one roof. Can Stephanie White's structure survive Caitlin Clark's superstardom? Or will the team eventually have to choose which kind of leadership defines its future? If you believe Stephanie White was right to reassert control, hit that like button and drop a fire emoji in the comments. But if you think Caitlin Clark's passion and leadership deserve more freedom, share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe because the next chapter of this saga could redefine not just the Indiana Fever, but the balance of power across the entire WNBA.